Now we've come to the uppermost part of the Brailier, and we're at the road cut that shows where the rock type actually changes from sands that don't contain conglomerate to thicker bedded sands that actually do. And the base of the foreknobs right here, this is the basal sand, which contains some conglomerate, also known as the Briery Gap member of the foreknobs. I'm standing here on a road cut along a driveway to an industrial park that is above Corridor H but parallel to it. And as you can see, the fine-grained shales and sandstones that are exposed along this nice, fairly fresh cut eventually give way to some channel incision of coarser sandstones and conglomerates. And where the hammer is located, you can see nicely exposed an example of sand incised into the shale beneath it as a discrete channel. And the package of sand and shale above this actually gives way to coarser and coarser sands as we move on up the section. And this package right here is the basal sand of the Foreknobs Formation, where we actually can see a distinct change in lithology from finer grained shales and sandstones to coarser sands that actually have conglomeratic clasts in them as we move from here on up in the section. We've come up section now from that lower basal sand in the Foreknobs, and you can see a good bit of the intervening shales exposed here along that road cut in the driveway. The basal sand is just at the crest of the hill, right on the horizon of the image. And as it pans across, you'll see the shales eventually giving way to a thicker package of sand here, a second one. There it is. That is probably equivalent to the pound sandstone member of the Foreknobs, which is a second ridge, prominent ridge of sand that is mappable from Virginia all the way up into Pennsylvania. We're going to go take a closer look at this in a moment. We've come up higher in this section now. We're just behind the gate to this private driveway. You can see how, again, there's some shale that's giving way eventually to more massively bedded sandstone above it. And as we get closer to the outcrop, you can begin to see the transitions between shale to sands, and this is indicating shallowing of the environment. That's, these rip-up clasts and the bases of the sand packages indicate the higher energy and the shallow nature. Probably some of this mud was desiccated, and the higher flows coming into the marginal marine setting, ripping up pieces of those desiccated muds and overlapping sands on top of them. As these sands come in, you can see here that the grain size has significantly increased, so that we have now conglomeratic sands, fairly unrounded or sub-rounded, still angular clasts, and that is indicating a rather proximal source of the sediment coming into the basin. Moving up section even further now, we can see the amount of shale is diminishing as the sand package thickens, but occasionally you'd still have some muddy layers coming in, and the sedimentary structures that we can see in these muddy layers indicate a marginal marine environment with a fair amount of burrowing. You can see some burrowing in the sands here, but the fraction of mud has diminished significantly, and the grain size of the sands is beginning to increase. Again, we have abundant evidence of rip-up clasts of the finer grain material incorporated into the sands. And as we take a step back, and we look at the even thicker packages of sand, where they really become thickest is where you're going to often find the best evidence of the conglomerate. And this big boulder here of a thick package of channel sand, if we take a closer look on it, you can begin to see evidence of larger clasts here in the rock, probably better exposed on this side. Hopefully this will focus and you can see the grain size getting significantly larger. Oh, here's a clast that's got to be at least 2 or 3 centimeters across. And this would be the equivalent perhaps of the pound sandstone in the upper part of the Four Knobs Formation. Pan across to look at corridor H behind us. On the other side, where that truck just passed, you'll see that the character of the rock and the sediments changes so that it's much more red. We're going to go look at that in a moment.